Welcome to The Art of Darkness. My name is Tim Atseff. I graduated from Southern as a painting major in 1970 and was fortunate enough to be asked back for a 50-year retrospective exhibition of my work. When I left Southern in 1970, the school and Carbondale were roiled in adrenaline-pumping protests over the Vietnam War and racial inequities. So much so that the Board of Governors closed Southern down before graduation. And so set the stage for much of my work professionally and in the studio. As we tour through this exhibit, you will see some of my existential and political art and where the two intersect. So, what's up with the title, Art of Darkness? Well, I've spent most of my life using painting as a form of exorcism to purge the unrest, those deep questions of my existence that are buried deep within me. The darker I paint, the more alive I feel. This first painting is a good example, closer to the truth. I painted this in 1970, and it began my journey into darkness. This self-portrait is where I keep track of my years on the wall of time. And over time, I've discovered that the power of art is in the response, and that art is louder than words. By that I mean art that just doesn't sit on its ass. And that the more personal the art, the more it reveals about oneself in the mysteries and chaos of life itself. And that love is stronger than death, and that the contrast of love and light and dark make life worth living. That myth is more potent than reality, and those realities want to come out on the canvas. Kind of a kenosis, shedding oneself of self. And the painting is the portal. In this particular piece, I tried to capture the deafening silence of an operating room after the frantic attempts to save victims of gun violence, and when nothing is left but carnage, blood, spent IVs, lost souls, and the orderlies who have to mop it all up after. We bear that burden of violence, but yet it continues. Gun sales in 1920 surged. Some 20 million guns were sold. 6.1 million more than in 2019. Art can keep the issue alive while those slaughtered can't. Here is Crazy Eyes. This is my interpretation of the debilitating migraine headaches where time is frozen in pain. Sometimes I'm asked, I don't know what's going on here. Well, that's not my job. My job is to create a new reality. It's not about lecturing. It's about experiencing the painting and penetrating your own experience, not mine. Just look at the work in isolation. Look deep into a painting and ask, is anybody home in there? Experience it. Feel the response. And if there's nothing, just move on. Look at something else. My job is to create. How people respond is none of my business. Then there's my political art. Part of my professional life as a newspaperman and a magazine editor, was spent as a political cartoonist. Political art has a long and rich history. Goya, Picasso, Daumier, Dali, and the likes of cartoonists like Thomas Nast. One of Nast's targets was Boss Tweed, the corrupt New York City politician in the 1890s. Tweed bellowed about Nast's cartoons, "I don't give a straw about your newspaper articles. My constituents don't know how to read, but they can see those damn pictures." Well, Nast's cartoons were credited for bringing Tweed down. The power of art, louder than words. And you know that saying after 9/11, when you see something, say something? Well, I painted something. The 7 Deadly Sins, a Trump dystopian heptology. For the past 4 years, I listened to daily dispatches from Trump's Tower of Babel and used painting as therapy to vent my frustration, anger, and astonishment at this threat to our democracy. Look, Trump wasn't a failure because he was a Republican. It's because he was a bad human being. The full embodiment of the 7 deadly sins: greed, wrath, envy, sloth, lust, gluttony, and vanity. But lest there be any confusion, before I committed to this series, I exhausted the search for some indication of virtues: temperance, charity, chastity, diligence, humility, and kindness. I found none, nada, zip. All I found was a soulless clown and a false prophet. So there you have it, 2 existential threats, one in life and one in politics. Painting for my benefit in space and in time, creating work that moves beyond the subject by manipulating chance. Art in all its forms is meant to be provocative, and the power of the art is in the response. In the end, it's up to you. For me, Southern was the beginning, and I am grateful to be able to close the circle with this exhibit. Enjoy.